Session, and we'll be live here in a moment.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we've come out of executive session, to seek advice of counsel, that's been done. And I'm looking for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Many volunteers as there were. We have a first and a second, so I'm not even gonna name names. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hope not. We're adjourned. We now can move to the, IDA meeting. Privilege of the floor, there are still no public here, thank you. Minutes, page 3, reviewed, accepted, if so, a motion to accept them.
So moved.
Second, Bill, Dave second, all in favor, or any discussion? All in favor, aye, aye. Any opposed? Minutes have been accepted, Paul, page 7.
Well, once again, we're through our first 12 months since realigning our fiscal year. So broken record, the pilot leaseback fees are what's making us look like our revenues are falling behind, and the grant income is another thing to skew it. Everything else looks fairly within line for expenses. The grant monies for the new members are in and out, so they'll show up as a revenue and an expense at the same time. The balance sheet month to month looks fine. No major changes. If you look at the balance sheet and compare it to where we were a year ago, it's down like $200,000. And that's not significant when you realize the amount of grant monies we've been through. Now we go over to delinquencies, and my question after hearing some stuff is projects that are in default, Justin said a statutory 10% interest. Do we, a question for Lyle is, we haven't shown that on their default amount, and I wonder if we should start doing that moving forward.
Did we, I think for the bigger loans, we chose the larger amount, but the micro loans, I felt we had a discussion that was punitive. And I don't remember about theirs. Well, actually, they're not in.
Well,
But they are getting.
we have
Right,
Convault and LCO
Yeah, okay.
Destiny.
I
so we gotta ask
feel
Lyle.
like, did we just agree on the same amount for both? I feel like we had a discussion.
Well, whatever we agreed on,
Your point is
we're still showing them in default with the original amount due and not the amount due with the additional interest. And I was wondering whether we should, there may be a reporting issue for Lyle that we don't do that. We still have Colleen cherries trees running 2 months behind this time of year. That's been standard and they get caught later on, but Painful Acres is now 8 months. I talked to Lyle yesterday about that. We did get one payment for one of the COVID loans, and that this may be a write-off issue in 2025, but not to do it yet. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, that's what Lyle suggests.
Other than that, everything else looks in line. Unless there's any questions, I move to accept the treasurer's report.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Bill, any further discussion, questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Treasurer's report carries. Page 22, audit committee, Paul, and then we'll read the resolution.
Same as before, we met with the auditors and met the new team that's going to be performing the audit, because they can only do it for a certain number of years before they have to change the team. And the audit committee set it forward for approval to engage Bowers & Company.
Okay, page 23, resolution 01.09.2025.01 to engage auditors for annual audit, whereas the audit committee met on December 15, 2024 to meet with our CPAs and advisors, DLDC. Whereas Bowers presented an engagement letter for the period of January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2024, including JCCFDC and DRC. The fee for the audit and other services will be $13,250. And whereas the audit committee recommends approval of the engagement letter, then this resolution will formalize that. We have a motion to accept.
So moved.
Dave, second.
Second.
Lisa, any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That resolution carries. Governance, Ed.
Same
3.
thing here to move this along as quickly as we can. our annual resolution to acknowledge that we addressed our bylaws, mission statement, deposition of real property, procurement policy, annual verification that we've done all that. We did. We recommend that resolution to the full board. We had 2 changes, proposed application. The application changes are kind of steering along the lines of addressing the OSC's audit deficiencies. So staff and council, I believe, were in agreement that this and Lyle cleans up any of those gray areas as far as acknowledging the statistical information we need from applicants to verify and satisfy state's requirements.
Yes.
So, and then the other thing was, of course, the evaluation of the board performance.
Okay.
So unless Marshall or anyone has any suggestions, the proposed changes are in red. That will become part of our loan application process. And it'll give us the enforcement we need to go after the information and have on file.
Okay. All right.
So
We have a couple resolutions and, oh, you didn't finish actually.
no, that was it. That was it. And then
The first resolution, page 34 of our packet, 01.09, 2025.02, annual internal policy and procedure review, whereas on December 13, 2024, the JCIDA governance committee met to review the listed policies and procedures. After review and discussion, they recommended the following internal policies for the board's consideration: bylaws, mission statement, and performance measures, disposition of real property guidelines, investment policy with internal controls, procurement policy, proposed project assessment, and employment verification. Therefore, this board provides approval of those policies as set forth in this resolution. Do we have a motion to
Yes.
accept it, Paul?
I'll second it.
Ed, second. One question, just since we're being recorded, the reason we don't have an anti-nepotism policy in here is because we're not an employer.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say that out loud. If
Yeah.
somebody like makes a connection like, geez, why is it not in there? I.e. why there's no
Everybody's
employee
employed.
handbook, we're not an employer. Okay. So first, second, discussion, any other questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That resolution carries. The application, Ed already summarized it, so if there's any other discussion, we can have that, but I'd like a motion first to accept the proposed changes.
I'll propose that.
Ed, Paul,
Yep.
second. Any other questions, comments, discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? The proposed changes are now final. Board evaluations are on page 62. I would say they're
Pretty much.
similar. I
pretty
mean,
much mirrors.
They didn't look like they're identical, but they're similar. Obviously,
Yeah,
different
very.
board members, vote, but still very heavily weighted to strongly, well, it doesn't say strongly agree, but agree
Yeah.
versus somewhat agree. We have a motion to accept the evaluation as presented.
So moved.
Lisa, Ed, second. All in favor, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's accepted. Paul, anything under alternative energy?
Well, you've probably seen in the paper, there's new project, large-scale solar proposed in Wilmot and the town of Croghan in Lewis County. They filed their 3-day notice that they're gonna file an application. It's nothing that's gonna happen quick, but
Mhm.
most of them are 2 to 3 years from application to approval. So that's out there a ways. And Lyle's told me he's received wind of a project on County Route 66, in the town of Helmsfield. I'm not sure which it is. It's a small one. It's local zoning approval.
Is that the road that the yellow barn?
I thought it was right off of Route 3.
It is. It actually, the property is fronted on County Route 66.
66
The
also.
project is actually right at the Y there on Route 3.
Yeah, by,
That'll be a 5-acre community.
Yes,
no.
It's
smaller. It's like 1 and 3.
Yeah, it's probably like a.
It's a smaller it falls under local zoning as.
It is local zoning. It has been presented to and being reviewed by the local planning board.
So whether or not they come to us for benefits, we don't know yet.
There has been discussion that they need to come to the IDA.
And I have been in discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we've seen no formal application.
Correct.
Anything else, Bill? You look
No.
like you're.
I'm just wondering if we should approach one of these 3 utility grade developers and get a heads up on, are they thinking about coming to us for a pilot? Should we try to get ahead of it?
I think prior to the state's valuation model, AES had, which is the project in the 2 counties I just mentioned, plus that's Riverside is
Yep.
AES. They had preliminary discussions with Dave way back when about coming this way. So if we were going to talk to AES, talk to a project, I'd pick AES because they got the 2, or Boralex because I'm shocked they haven't moved forward more. They haven't had a filing with the state in like 8-9 months. But they're the ones that have the quickest access to distribution, I think.
Just to, if I can just touch base real quick on the Wilna one, the Krogan Wilna project, we have had discussions about what are you going to do here, and they have been, because I would say that it is our and Lewis County's belief that they will be coming to us for a pilot, but they haven't said up or down definitively.
Is that gonna be led by Lewis County IDA though?
It will
It
be.
seemed like that was in that.
Because there's more
that
of the
telephone
project
call.
is more in their
Okay, but
process.
still.
But we have to acquiesce to them being.
Yeah, we have to agree to
Yep.
whatever.
So I would say if they want to be the lead, we want to make sure that
It's a good,
their pilot terms are consistent with ours before we did that.
maybe
Right.
Marshall
That's
can just
another
reach out
reason
to
why I think we should maybe address these sooner than later.
maybe
And
Marshall can
I agree.
give me a call.
And the Boralex issue
Work
is
session.
If you can get them to come
Yeah.
to the table.
AES
Oh,
has
they'll
been
come.
very reasonable of all of them.
Oh, yeah.
And
But-
they want to, and there is a meeting that it actually I had to agree to this morning. So that is process has begun.
So why don't we do it in the
You take
guidelines of a
some-
work session
some of
with
the
alternative vendors?
Interesting things, the reason I think they will come to us is because when you start trying to, how do you use an assessment-based model under the state valuation model? Like Boralex is in 2 towns, Jefferson County, and 2 school districts. Okay, how do you determine how much of a project is in school district A, school district B? What percentage of the valuation goes to each one? How do you apply that to parcels? Where if they do a pilot agreement, it really takes that whole thing out of the issue. Whereas if you take these smaller ones, they're all in 1 town and 1 school district. It makes it cleaner if they were to go that way.
So why don't we leave it with Marshall to your recommendation or whatever to.
I have no
select
problems
one-
with
to
us
select
sitting
one of them,
down and
we'll do an
finding out
alternative
what-
energy work session essentially. It'd fall under your committee and.
well, it'll be the
so-
first meeting in a year.
Yeah. I think we should
Justin
have that
wants
at the
to-
committee level.
Justin?
Just a quick note, we're dealing with several, including AES, one in Franklin that's 100 megawatts. That's, that one's 2 towns, 1 school. I'm also dealing with a 200 megawatt deal with NextEra in Cayuga County that involves, I think 3 school districts in 1 town. There's a way to allocate the amount of megawatts within a particular tax parcel and municipal boundary, and then the land value, which are 2 components that we deal with. So the allocation isn't an issue, but with regard to the Lewis project, there's going to be a real divergence of interests because you've got a county that's telling you as an IDA that you need to charge full taxes on the county millage. That's not going to happen to Lewis. So your pilot isn't going to be a E2 until the county takes a different position on that financial model. your pilot's gonna look a hell of a lot different than Lewis. So getting in early and talking about those things, and maybe that one's big enough to change that conversation with the county, I don't know. But that model where they have to pay a full tax on one taxing jurisdiction and then get abated on others through a pilot contract, which we could do that in a formula, but that's gonna look a heck of a lot different than a straight abatement in Lewis.
We just let Lewis give more incentives to make up for the county collecting full taxation. That's pretty simple.
Everybody's aware of the fact that Oya's in bankruptcy.
No, I hadn't read that. That's unfortunate. They were like the
They were
first
big
ones
guys.
that were really easy to deal with. We did transition their projects a couple of years ago.
They sold 2 of them.
Yeah, the transition.
We approved it, but they didn't close, and then they
Okay.
So Oya still is in possession of those assets here in Jefferson County under Oya?
And what's happening is their intended buyer that didn't execute before filing is gonna be the stalking horse. I was told that was the stalking horse bid to take it out of the bankruptcy estate, and then we would sign the same documents just post filing. But I haven't received an update from them since before the holidays.
This will be our second stocking horse.
So Justin, maybe I should wait. Post bankruptcy taxes have to be paid, correct? Is that
Yeah.
the same for a pilot?
They're gonna keep your leases and your pilot in good standing, which is the good news, but, the concept of the sale process, and there's 5 more. One of them's in Franklin, and then I think there's 2 more in another county that are part of that bundle of assets they were trying to transition before they ran out of cash. So they're hopefully the stalking horse bidder, the intended buyer wins the day, and they're able to orderly, do what they intended to do in the first place. But all we have in place right now is an authorization that hasn't been executed on.
So those landowners that have signed leases, are they getting paid under bankruptcy?
Yeah, all of the assets, and it's not the company entities that are in bankruptcy, the ones that are actually making payments. It's a parent, 2 stairs, two that went into bankruptcy, and it holds all of these project assets. They're gonna keep those in good standing during the pendency of the filing. And hopefully the assets get, transitioned to the buyer as intended, and we just go on our way with a new parent, whoever that may be.
Okay.
All right. Transition to building and grounds. I know we asked a prior question, but let's go through committee report and then we can kind of cover things.
Sure, we can do that. We did have a meeting in December, and a lot of the meeting was concerned with listening to Mr. Morja, Alex Morja, talk about his concept of putting, call it what you want, a billboard or a big sign on the back of his building that faces 81. Had a lot of discussions about that concept, and I think the committee's feeling at the end was you need to formalize your proposal if you want to go forward with it, and either present it to the full board or the committee again. Marshall, I don't think we've seen anything from Alex at this point. Any further discussions on where that may or may not be going?
Nothing.
Okay, so if we hear back from Alex, we will take it up at the committee level and make a recommendation to the board.
I think we should find out whether we can even approve it if we wanted to.
There are a lot of things involved with that. I do agree with you, but again, I'm always of the mind. I like to see the facts first. Let's see what's being proposed, and then we can ask council and
In the town.
what's that?
In the town and the zoning.
In the town and zoning, et cetera, and look at those things and see, A, can we actually do this? And B, if we can, do we want to?
Whereas it involves somewhat breaking covenants. It's, I hope we don't have to get into those muddy waters and try and sort through.
And that's part of the issue. Yep, you're right. But we haven't heard anything further. So until we do, I'm not sure there's much discussion at this point. We also talked at the committee level about the corporate Park infrastructure, water and sewer that I believe was completed. Marshall, you and I talked about having a project closeout meeting with them. We need to get that scheduled, talk about as-built and those types of things. But my understanding is the project is complete, infrastructure's in. So more to come on that. I think that was basically it. I think we did get the Convault sign down that was out in front.
We did. Jay, it went down, took it down.
Bit of a reminder
For sale
that's
sign up.
been removed. And we did talk about moving forward. And I think you're bringing that up earlier at the last meeting about the inventory that the one sheet that we need to get done. And happy to have another committee meeting if you'd like to talk a little further about this, this concept that we want to maybe have BCA.
Yeah, I'm gonna have,
Phil?
after this meeting, I'm gonna have them just pause on that. And again, it was
Yeah.
the day before yesterday that we had talked about this, so there's nothing.
Let's talk about the details.
We
of
do
what
need to talk, we're gonna have to break
that
this down a
might
little
look
bit
like.
more.
So yeah, I think that's about all
All
we
right.
have at this point. To
Any questions, go ahead.
Bill,
The only thing I keep seeing here in the minutes about, National Grid, and if we're ever gonna make this a shovel-ready site, we're gonna have to address getting power to that site.
we are.
Oh.
We are going to have to do that, and I
Oh.
agree with you. And that's something we're going to need to move forward on.
Do we need,
But they're going to. I think my understanding is National Grid's going to say, okay, what do you need power for? How much you need, and what are the specifics? Because my understanding now is there's a couple of different ways that they approach that. There's a tariff, that's associated with an end user, so they've got revenue to count on. Or if you just want to get power out there and this is what you want, it's like time and materials. So there's two different cost levels.
We need to keep moving forward in that
We do.
direction.
We do,
Yeah.
and it is a very complicated process beyond getting the typical home level power there, which they would be required to provide. So it's one of those sort of things. But there is load. I mean, I don't even want to get started.
But there was a plan. There was a plan, if I understand it right.
It wasn't ours,
Plan.
though.
That's
It's not ours.
that's a
It's
real.
not our
agreement.
plan. It's
For
a
them-
messy
yeah.
situation.
But it was best on X amount of
Yeah,
megawatts.
and it was done under NDA.
For a specific
It's not our
purpose.
plan, and we're not
Yeah.
privy to it.
To Ed's point, to me, the takeaway right now currently is that there is power and that it can go to the site. I guess it is but how much, when, how much.
What's the end user?
Power,
Right.
Yeah, those are all.
i.e. the next building and grounds, what do we want this to look like? Because we have a couple ideas of its potential use. They may or may not be compatible and fit. There's a lot of what ifs. So
Correct.
power is most important, but right now we don't know what we need.
Yeah.
Sewer's important too, but that's sort of like down the pike a little bit.
And
And there's workarounds.
there is,
With on-site.
So you bring up another good point. As far as the sewer is concerned, that project technically is the town of Hounsfield's sewer project. That is very close to going out to bid. There are a couple of details with the DEC that need some resolution that our folks are working on as we speak. We expect those to be done, completed and approved, hopefully within the next month or two. Once those are approved by DEC, then the project should be able to be put out to bid and completed this year.
Is the outfall from the airport pretty substantial? I'm sure it's time The sewage outfall, I mean, there's periods of time when there's a lot of people there, then there's periods of time. there's
You mean
no
their
one there.
projected flows?
Yeah, the outfall from the airport must be like high at some points, but the average is like next to nothing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the average isn't huge. It's not huge.
But I mean, when there are flights before and after, I would assume. the
That's,
outfall
yeah,
is
the
maybe
peak
a little
flows,
higher.
I mean, they're not,
But still, I mean, the census at the airport could never exceed like 150, 200 people maybe at any given time.
yeah, I mean, those numbers are not anything extraordinary, I
Okay,
guess, way to put it.
I just didn't know. if,
Easily handled by the infrastructure that's,
So there's a
being
particular sewage line going into the airport and connected to something.
Choke point's the treatment plant, right?
yes.
Which this
There
project.
was
In
a
Brownville.
grant to improve
Right now,
that,
this,
wasn't it?
the treatment plant is
Sewage treatment?
Brownville.
It's going to Brownville.
Yes.
Okay, which is,
So the Hounsfield
No.
project
I don't,
Different.
I don't.
that
I
you
have no
referenced
idea.
is
You think
gonna
I
be
would
an
understand.
improvement to their water treatment facility in Hounsfield?
It's a collection system.
No, it's a collection system that takes the sewage from the airport and from the business park to the Village of Brownville's treatment plant. Village of Brownville's treatment plant does have excess capacity. There is an agreement in place that will allow a certain amount of that capacity to be dedicated to this line. Currently, I think the numbers are about 12,500 gallons a day, which is a fairly substantial amount, and will handle most anything that we can conceive at this point would go in there. That is not the end all as far as what the Brownville plant has for excess capacity. Certainly, there's room for future negotiations if need be. So yeah, that
Shouldn't be a problem then.
is not a problem at this
And
point.
this is the sewage that crosses the bridge that the pipe's already hanging? Or is that the
No,
water?
it's actually going to be going over the pipe, the pipe bridge that's been replacing the Brownville Bridge.
So the current
Different bridge.
right the current
Because I know there was
bridge.
a pipe that we actually asked to have put there when the DOT upgraded that bridge. So this is
That was
not. the
Dexter.
sewage
No,
pipe. That was
the new
Dexter.
bridge, yeah.
Okay.
The pipe bridge will be at where the existing bridge is now,
Okay.
and that's something that was negotiated with the state.
But nevertheless, I mean, there is a route.
Nice bridge there.
Oh yeah,
And there's infrastructure, it's
Nice
just the
view,
pipe's
too.
not there, or it needs to be upgraded or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff.
One last thing on
Go ahead.
that is, Ryan wanted me to ask somebody about, we were looking for a support letter from the county for that second grant through the,
yes.
and I think we're waiting on some, I don't know, from you or from you, some talking points or something for him to put in a letter for support.
He should have that. The one that we had talked about.
I thought
Yeah, it should be. I sent that a couple of weeks
Bunch
ago.
of talk.
But I will-
As of yesterday or whenever we were
Okay.
talking, he didn't
Talk
think we
to
had.
Brian.
Yep, I will.
we'll
check
follow
that
up
out.
on that.
Yep.
I didn't realize that. Thank you.
That was the letter that went to the supervisor of Hounsfield in support of their application.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. Yep.
Okay,
Just
It was
one
like
thing.
Another 1.2 million or something.
it is.
Back to the sign in the park, the deed covenant say that there's a permanent restriction for any sign has to be on the site use. So
For that business.
I guess my point is, if that is the legal advice, we're wasting the town's time, Alex's time, and everyone's time. If that is a set in the deed restrictions that we don't have the ability to waive.
What I
believe-
understood though, it was part of the covenants that we could go back and.
Yeah, but this one is worded differently. It says for that one item, it's a permanent signage easement. But that's a Justin question.
If I'm not mistaken, and Justin it believes that it's pretty cut and dry. That the covenant reads something to the effect of advertising the owner's premises. I'm not 100% sure on that. Justin's opinion at first blush was that the spirit of that was to advertise the business that's in the park, but the covenant itself says to advertise the owner's premises, I believe, and that piece was the sticking point, and sort of, so Alex said, well, it is advertising the owner's premises and that he owns, so whatever.
And Sackett.
In seconds, yep.
I personally, if it's a case that we can't do it, why waste anyone's time is my point. But the other issue that was brought up in buildings and ground was the quality along the 81 corridor with brush and
Yes.
junk and.
Yep, like cleaning that, the shrubbery and shrubs and all that stuff up. It's DOT owned land. And I have had some very brief discussions with Jim Lawrence about that. And they've actually started cleaning up some of it.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Because I've driven down there a couple times and I've been looking at what everyone's talking about with that.
It could be a lot nicer.
But those boats look awful nice.
I think
there.
the boats look cool. They're silver. They look great.
It's work.
Shiny.
All right.
Men at work.
I want one of those boats.
Page 68, we have our proposed committee structure for this agency. We have a motion to accept.
So moved.
John,
Second.
Paul looked like he was gonna make a second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The proposal is now fact.
And I'd love to make the I'll move resolution number 0109-2025.
All right, I will read it and then I will take your advice. Resolution number 01-09-202503, appointment of WIC LDC Board of Directors, which I know why Paul wants to move it. He's trying to post-haste exit the position.
It's not, I'm gonna be candid, it's not that it's a bad position, it's just one more meeting.
No, you said, it's just, it's overwhelming, time-wise. Whereas JCIDA is a member of the Watertown Industrial Center Local Development Corporation and shall appoint one member to their board of directors, and whereas the JCIDA Board of Directors recommends appointing John Condino to the WIC LDC Board of Directors for a term to expire December 31, 2027, and this resolution affirms that appointment. We have Paul's already made
I'll second.
a prior, but you'll second it, so we're good. Any discussion?
That way I know where to send my complaints.
There you go. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for your, John.
Billy runs a good organization.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, second.
Okay, we got first, second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, that moves us to our last.
Chuck Capone's sister is the head of that.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I'm surprised.
Okay,
Call to
take
order
it
our
over.
Jefferson County Civic Facility Development Corporation meeting. Minutes are on page 3. They've been reviewed and accepted, and therefore a resolution. Dave first,
Second.
Bill second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes carried. Paul, inform us on the treasurer's report, page 4.
You know, I hate to say it, I didn't even look at it. Is there any,
Year-to-date, 10,750.
that was last
There
month.
was a small, do you have it?
I can get it.
I mean, it really is not changed.
You know, twice a month, twice a year, there's actually something to report.
I think we did collect maybe 20.
Year to date, we took in
No,
10,
we did nothing this current month.
no. So
Then a motion to accept your report?
I'm just finishing looking through.
Yep.
We got a
I
motion.
think we have first from Lisa and a second.
Yeah, I see it, Paul.
My apologies, I didn't
No,
even.
it didn't look like a change from last month. First, second, any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Report is accepted. We have a number of, let's see, audit committee did meet, so I can't skip over that. This is, well, it's actually already covered in the prior
Other one,
one.
yes.
So we don't have anything there it was already covered in that one. The governance.
Same thing, same agenda for all three.
Okay.
Review our annual mission statement, which was done again, no changes. And of course, summary of our board evaluation, pretty cut and dried. And here again, some of those provisions were carried over into the application from the OSA criteria for addressing, job opportunities in the application. So, the fee schedule, we were going to recommend, the governance committee recommended discussion to the full board on modifying our fee schedule a little bit. And the idea around that was to recapture input cost for applications that never see it through to the end. In the meantime, we
That
burned
was for across the board. That was
Yeah.
for all of them, but we've not taken action. It was to
Right.
come up with a policy so that projects that come in there drop the $2,500 application fee and run up $10,000 in legal bills when
Yeah.
we're out that
Yeah.
money. So
So I suppose at this point, we could refer that discussion to go on maybe new business next month's meeting.
Yeah, I think just let's get a recommendation of all of this, because we haven't finalized that.
No.
Shall I read the resolutions, or you have anything?
Sure,
more?
no, go ahead.
I just didn't know if there was more to report.
No.
Like you said, it is repetitive from the
Yep.
prior one.
Yep.
Resolution, page 10, resolution 01.09 to 205.01, annual internal policy procedure and review. Whereas on December 14th, JCCFDC Governance Committee met to review the listed policies below, bylaws, mission statement, performance measures, dispositions, real property guidelines, investment policy with internal controls, and procurement policy. They recommended the following to be considered by the board, which this resolution would affirm. A motion to accept the resolution.
Move it.
Ed?
Second.
We got two, so you guys can share it. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. The confidential board evaluation is on page 11. It's very consistent with the prior ones, probably exactly the mirror image. The IDA, motion to accept it is presented.
yes,
Lisa,
second.
Paul, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Opposed, application, Ed, we're gonna
One.
kick this one down for the
Sure.
next month?
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda for board
Because
discussion.
Paul, I think this was the only one we didn't collect a fee up front. That's why we wanted to do this one different, but we can debate that next month when we have our wits with us.
But I think,
No,
I think that fee schedule did kind of look back at both, all the organizations.
They did, but we had one prior for the bond that there was like no money put down, and then the job
True.
just died. It's like, okay, what do we do now?
Robin, do you have a comment?
yeah, I was saying that's what we're talking about. The fee was only $500
Correct.
for this, but we wanted to at least put it up to at least 2,000, right?
But
We've
What?
already done that.
You've already done that?
We've already done that.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I thought we did the fee
Yeah.
stuff. So is there anything else in here? Because the fee I thought was done last month, so.
Right.
So this is only then just procedural changes. We can actually,
I think you should approve this today.
yeah, there's
Yes.
nothing else in here
Yeah.
other than just. some-
I move the
Okay.
proposed application.
A second, Ed, that was you?
Yep.
Okay, I thought so.
Yep.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
See, Peggy runs everything.
And I will just note in the application, there was a change in another page added to that,
Yeah, they had some
reflecting
tables.
for the jobs.
Yeah.
You know, in the application form, covering our bought up front.
I'm not aware of any unfinished business. So new business is the proposed committee structure, page 22. I'm looking for a motion to accept as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I think Lisa and Bill?
Yep.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for your picture. And moving to adjournments.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned, and everyone else gets to run the next meeting.
See you, Chuck.
See you later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks.
Have a
Want me
great
to
day.
get it?
Did you know
Did
the
you give it to him?
town of Watertown bought a piece of property in Elmsfield? I just need 5 minutes when we're done, okay?
Yeah. I guess we'll call the DeFerriet Redevelopment Corporation meeting to order officially. We have the minutes from the December 5th meeting. Somebody like to make a motion to approve?
Will do.
That's me.
There's a motion,
Who else is here?
first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports. So committee meetings were held on December 13th, and I was not available for them. Paul, Audit Committee?
I'm not on that board.
Oh, all right, so this was, these notes are, this was tied to the
Engagement.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're part of it.
All right, so we've been through these, correct?
Yep.
Okay. The Governance Committee, again,
Same thing.
basically the same thing. Bill, I guess it was.
Yep.
You and Dave.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report on that?
Nothing, there, we really haven't done anything.
Okay, all right.
We have one
Um,
resolution we have to.
We have one resolution, annual internal policy procedure review. Resolution number 01.09.2025.01 for annual internal policy and procedure review. Actually, this needs to be changed. It says whereas on December 14th, 2024, DRC Governance Committee met, it was actually the 13th, I believe. Review a list of policies. After review discussion, they recommend the following internal policies for the board consideration: bylaws, disposition of real property guidelines, investment policy, procurement policy. Now therefore be resolved by the board of directors of the Jefferson County Civic Development. Well, this says Civic Development Facility Corporation. Hereby approves the above internal policies. Shouldn't that say the DRC?
Yep.
All right, so we need to,
It's a cut and paste.
yep. We need to revise the language on that, and I guess I would say, is there a motion to accept this motion with revised language on the date and on the reference?
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the results of the confidential evaluation board performance, which is the same as we've gone over many times today. I don't think there's any unfinished business at this point, no new business at this point. Take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
That's a world record.
Yeah, I know. Any further discussion? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned.
Do you have any comments?
Very good.
I just want to mention there's still no mission statement, so at some point the board's gonna have to come up with.
Okay.
Or do you see?
I think they established that. And just put something on paper for us to react to.
Not
Yeah.
playing with your leg. Oh, we
right.
gotta get this in point.
I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't feel it with two artificial knees. I don't feel it.
Okay.
Yes.
That was